Happy Wednesday! Okay, we're going to keep looking at some Renaissance work. We're going to look at a couple of specific examples, but two very different feels, two very different vibes, okay? So we're going to look at a few pieces by Leonardo da Vinci and then a couple of pieces by El Greco. El Greco, pretty interesting character. His work was actually pretty expressive for the Renaissance time. I had the privilege of going to the museum, the El Greco Museum that is in Toledo, Spain. And to see his work in person, it's completely different than seeing it on a picture, in a picture. He had a lot of expressive brush strokes. It almost had like the color choices and the expression of the brush strokes and things almost had an impressionism feel to it, but impressionism is several hundred years away. So pretty interesting. I think he was a little bit before his time. He was not super popular while he was alive. It wasn't until the Impressionism movement when people rediscovered his work. But he does have great examples of those elongated figures that the video was talking about yesterday. So I want us to kind of compare Da Vinci with El Greco. It's interesting to see them side by side. Now, granted, they're painted... I think the Mona Lisa was painted in 1503, and one of El Greco's paintings was like 1577. So, you know, they're about 70 years apart in time, but still, like quite a jump, quite a jump. So let's look at that, because they're both Renaissance paintings. They're both Renaissance painters, but two very, very different kind of styles. I think a lot of art history, when it is taught, especially in the Renaissance, you don't see a lot of variety in Renaissance art. It's almost all the same. So I kind of like comparing these two because they are so different, and it does sort of show some of the variety that the Renaissance art had to offer. I remember in college, I hated Renaissance art because it all looked the same to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, everything is the same. I can't tell which painter painted what because they all look the same. But it really wasn't until I got to go to the El Greco Museum in Spain that I got to see his work in person. It made a difference. And I have gotten the privilege of seeing a Leonardo da Vinci painting in person as well. The second image, the portrait that's in the slides, the second portrait, is actually housed at the National Art Gallery in Washington, D.C., and is the only Leonardo da Vinci in the Western Hemisphere, across, in our little section of land on the Earth. It's the only one. And so that if you are ever in DC, go to the National Art Galleries, you see some pretty amazing, incredible things, including a Leonardo da Vinci painting that's quite small. But yes, so take a look at those, kind of think about the comparisons. Tomorrow there's going to be another video and some questions to answer on Baroque, Neoclassical, and Rococo. Have a good day.